I'm really tired and I'm frustrated. Let me tell you why. All right, so this morning I started off. We went to the shifting pad, which is basically it's about a third of a mile long warehouse parking lot, and in the back there's there's trucks on both sides of the building, but on the side that we were on, there's like almost none. They were all the way down on the very far end. There's like one that came in, and there was like two that came in later. And we were there for a couple hours. But this is, they call it the shifting pad, is because me, two other guys, Fritz and Thomas, went out there with Danny. Danny drove us out there, and it's a big open, again, third of a mile long parking lot that you can practice shifting on, and the double clutch and that kind of thing. So we went over there, and that was fine. I was able to get the grasp of the double clutch up and down shifting just fine, no problem. We were there, and then it basically it had lines just up on the side that it was probably over 100 lines where you would back in a trailer, and Danny says, "Oh, pick one." And so since I went first, I picked one that had a fire hydrant in it, like the back of it. So I was like, all right, well, I'll pick that one. And I was able to line up pretty decently there and do the alley back there. Had to do like 2 pull-ups. If there were cones, I probably would have hit 2 cones. And then, and I had like 4 pull-ups, maybe 3. I don't remember how many, but I would have, if I saved all my points from the on my CDL Class A test, and if I saved all my points from the offset and the straight back, then I would have gotten it. Now here's where it got frustrating, because the other 2 guys went and they had a hard time, just like I did, seeing which line was the line to go down. You're looking at the mirror and you can't really see, and you looking back behind you, and you're trying to nail the right line, and it's just so difficult to see because all the lines like converge and they're stacked on top of each other in this little concave mirror or convex mirror. Anyway, we went back, and we got back probably about 20 minutes before lunchtime. I told, I knew that we had to do pre-trip section B today, or at least I did. So I said, can I go ahead and do that? And he said, yeah, sure. So I did pre-trip B and did really well. I only forgot, I think, 3 things. One of them was the drive shaft, because on the Peterbilt 579, the catwalk covers up almost everything. It covers up almost everything up on the back of the cab. So I looked down through there. I mentioned the torque rod, but did not, for some reason, see the drive shaft. So I did not mention that, it had U-joints with no play and no excessive play and that kind of thing. I didn't mention that. I also forgot to stand on the steps to demonstrate how it could hold my weight. And the last thing I forgot was, when I mentioned the airbag, I did not mention the bracket that holds it, the bracket. These are all minor things. On section B, it's not a killer. So he was like, yeah, you did really good. You just, missed a couple little things. And because I didn't see the drive shaft, because I stood up there and I looked down at the torque rod and I looked right next to the drive shaft. I should have seen it, but I didn't. Now, but then after lunch, the other 2 guys did their pre-trips, and then we moved over to alley docking. And if there was a more frustrating move to do in trucking, I don't want to know what it is, because it is the most frustrating thing. All right, straight back. If I'm backing straight up, I know that if I start to lose an edge of the trailer, if I don't see perfectly down both sides, I know I can back. I know to turn the wheel a little bit, and it centers right back up. It straightens right back up. On the offset, I know You go to a certain place, you cut the wheel until you see a certain point on the landing gear, then you cut it back the other way, and you're perfectly in line where you see a couple of little cones. And if you're not, you can easily shift around even while you're backing up. You can still straighten up. Once you hit a certain point, you get out and look, and then you cut the wheel the one way, cut the wheel the other way, and you pull right in there. Probably maybe 3 times out of 5, I do it without having to get out and look. But you do, for safety, you have to. At least in the class you do. And then the other 2 times, I have to pull forward, and then I still don't hit cones. So it's like, and the same exact thing happens on parallel parking. I feel very confident with both of those. Confidence is high. And by that, I mean it's probably about 75%, which is not bad for being in your second week. With the straight back, I probably feel 85% confident in that. When it comes down to alley docking, I feel 0% confident. They keep telling me, they keep telling me different techniques. It's like, okay, you start to cut the wheel, and then what you do is it starts to go towards the box. And then as it starts to get close, you cut the wheel more. But if I'm too close to the cones in there, then as my trailer starts swinging around, I go over the line and they stop you. So I can't be close to the line. I have to back off of it a little bit. And then if I get going and I'm too close inside, they keep telling me, cut it closer to the box, cut it closer to the box. The problem is if I cut it close enough to the box, people online say that basically if you have a system like this and you're trying to cut it inside there, it is better for you to be, if you can't go right inside of the box, they say it's better for you to aim slightly over because you can always cut tighter and go in the box. I can't figure out the right angle for that. And they say that if you go too narrow, then what are you going to do? Do this number and try to get in? It doesn't work. So they say don't go shallow, or don't cut it too close. Cut it, if anything, too long, and that way you can always go tighter if you need to. I cannot for the life of me figure out the damn angle and figure out how to do it right. It is the most frustrating thing in the world. They keep saying, oh, well, you'll feel it. Just feel it. I'm like, I can't feel it. It's like someone takes Novocaine on my mouth and then says, why, can you feel that? It's like, no, I can't feel that. It's literally something that I just kind of have to try over and over again. And then I get frustrated because there is no way for me to just say, okay, hit a certain mark, back up, hit a certain mark, back up, do this again, line up a certain way, do this. I mean, I've seen people online. I've seen the instructors in the class, and I'm sure their techniques work for them and they work great when you're telling other people, but there's no definite procedure that everyone does the same way. With the alley docking, it's like, okay, one guy says, cut the wheel a little bit between 3 and 9 o'clock, cut the wheel down to 6. And then you might need to do a little bit more and then straighten back up. And you'll feel the trailer starting to kick out. And then as it gets closer, it will automatically, you can kind of adjust. And he says, righty tighty, lefty loosey. If you want to tighten up the turn, you turn a little bit to the right. If you want to loosen it up a little bit to have it go outwards a little bit more, you go to the left. Okay, fine. I get that. It doesn't work for me. I can't read it because 2 things happens. When it leaves my mirror on the side, that little convex mirror, as soon as it leaves that, it should be showing up. And if I look out the window, I should be able to see the trailer there. I can't because the damn exhaust pipe on the Peterbilt 579 is right in the way. And I stick my face all the way out outside the mirror, outside the window, and I look, and finally I see the trailer, but by then it's too late. Because then it's already too far around. If I cut it all the way to the left and try to straighten up, I'm too shallow. And if I cut it back to the right any, then it's even more. It's more close. It's not working for me. I don't know why. And so that was one technique they said to do. The other technique was to start the turn and cut it so that way you're do the first cut and kind of get on the angle that you want. Once you're on that line, then and you get the trailer about where you want it to, cut it a second time, and that's the when you go in. So break down a 90-degree turn into 245s. That's all well and good. I cannot get that final cut to go at the right time. I angle the trailer. I try to keep a good 3 feet in front of the cone, so that way that, if you imagine the box having lines straight out, and you can see in the mirror, exactly where the 2 lines go, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to put the trailer right there. You look for the wheel of the trailer, and as soon as it crosses that line or gets close to it, like it's right about to hit that line, because I can see where the trailer is going, I can see where that would be, and when the 2 converge, that should be where I start to make my turn. Right before that, I try to angle it maybe 2 feet before that, so that way I can cut it hard and get it in there. I always end up overshooting it or undershooting it. I either hit the cone, I hit the other thing, and they're trying to help. The instructors are trying to help, and I know it's me, it's not them. Their instructions, I'm sure, have made many people good, but they'll say you need to cut in tighter. You need to cut in tighter. I'm like, well, that's going to make me go too short. And they're like, no, it's not, because your first line is good. Your second line needs some work. And I try, and then they're like, you just need to cut it earlier. So I cut it earlier, and I go inside. I go too shallow. And again, once you start to come in and you go in too tight, there's no way. As soon as you start to go like this, if you have to straighten up like that, you're all over the place. There's no way for you to cram it back in there. So it's not working for me. And after like trying to get the angle right, trying to get it right, and then I get frustrated and pull forward and say, okay, back up and do it again. So I do it again. And they normally like you to and after a couple of times, they'll come out there and they'll talk you through. But I told, he's like, here, I'll walk you through it. I'm like, here's the thing. When you tell me what to do, all I am is a remote for you. All you are is telling me, turn left, turn right, turn. I don't learn it that way. I can't learn it that way. I need to do it and fail. I need to do it and succeed. I need to do it and figure it out. When you give me the answers, it's the same thing as on a test. I'm not learning it. And so I said, when you tell me what to do and you're standing there next to me, I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm not learning it then. That's just the way I learn. Every other thing I can break down by a procedure. This I can't. And so it's extremely frustrating to me, because there's nothing I can do. I've looked it up online. I sat there one day and just watched nonstop YouTube videos, how to do an alley dock. And it's like, okay, one CDL College, I think said you start to turn it. And as soon as you start to gravitate that way, they say, straighten up your wheel. Every time your wheel is straight, you watch and you just observe what the trailer does. And then what you do is you go left a little bit if you want to widen out your turn. You go right a little bit if you want to tighten it out there. But it's like, what the hell am I aiming for? And I asked the teachers that. I say, what am I aiming for at that point? If they told me you're aiming for a spot 3 feet in front of the cone, okay. If they say aim for the cone, but then people who passed the test on Monday, Michael last week when he was there, I'm watching him and Patrick both. Like literally, they're doing this number. They're putting the rear end of their trailer there, and then they're pivoting it and going in, and it's like flawless. And it's like, how in the hell are you able to go like this, angle it, and it goes straight in without hitting anything on the side? Because when I go like this, I hit the cone over here and the cone over here. I did that twice today. And it looks to me like I'm coming in maybe a little bit steeper than a little bit more, because they're coming in like this. But when the whole trailer is 40 feet, the Peterbilt 579 sticks out another 15 feet from that 55 feet in a space that's 70 feet. How in the crap do you get that thing in there? I just cannot figure it out right now. It's really frustrating. So to me, the alley dock is just something that I'll get in time, but it's like, and I understand why the instructors are saying we need to well round you. So today we're going to work on straight back and offset. It's like, I don't need that. I get over there and it feels very comfortable to me. I can get over there. I can hit this mark, whip it in there. And after I do the lineup, I can literally get the trailer in 2 minutes, with the exception of the 1 minute I have to get out and look. It takes me 3 or 4 minutes and the whole maneuver is done. It doesn't take me very long, and I'm not blowing points or something like that. I fit it right in pretty much every single time without having to do a pull up or anything. Unless I finish near the cones in the back and I just pull up to straighten out the trailer. That's it. I need work where I need work. And I know they're trying to make a well-rounded driver. And so that's why today we're going to work on parallel. Today we're going to work on offset and straight back. I know that. But that's not where I need help. Where I need help is the alley back, because mark my words right now, when I do my talk to you after going to do my test, I'm going to say I got alley doc. It's going to happen. I'm not going to get parallel because I'm not comfortable with alley doc. If I was comfortable with alley doc, and by the time I get there, hopefully I am. Maybe it's the most fun thing in the world because I'm like, I figure it out, and I'm going to have like in 2 or 3 more videos, let's hopefully say that I'm going to be all happy and say, oh, I finally figured it out. It's this. And I explain it. And it just fits perfectly well for me. I'm able to line it up. I'm able to slip the trailer right in there. And it's the best thing in the world. And I'm hoping to get that on the exam. And then they give me parallel. If that's the case, I'll get parallel. If I'm not comfortable with it, they're going to throw it at me. I'm going to go forward, backward, hit cone, have no room to pull up, and I'm not going to be able to correct it. It's going to just fall apart. I have zero confidence in the alley doc right now. And it's so irritating because it's like, look, I know we have to take turns and we all have to go in a round robin. I understand that, but it's really annoying to me how I just cannot get it. Everyone else seems to be. As a matter of fact, the people that are going to test next week, they're all like, behind me on the thing behind. Now they have a day cab. That thing turns on a dime too, because the fifth wheel is very far forward toward the cab. So like here are the 2 axles right here on the Peterbilt we're using. The fifth wheel is right in the middle. On theirs, if this is the front of the trailer, the back of the trailer, theirs is like, their fifth wheel is like way up here. It's all the way forward. So when they do a turn, they're in a day cab, they turn and that thing practically spins around on a dime. If the Peterbilt maneuvered like that, it'd be so much easier. I wish they had a day cab, for us to use too. Thomas keeps saying that. I wish they had a day cab. I'm like, I get it. I believe me, I get it too. And what's funny is everyone's trying to help. Everyone's, Thomas even tried. He's 19. He tried. He said he saw that I was frustrated. He says, all right, let me tell you what works for me. I'm like, okay. He says, what I do is I cut it until I see about half of my landing gear, and I'm like listening. I'm like, okay, this is good. And then he's like, and then what I do is I kind of straighten up a little bit. And then I cut it again to see about half of my landing gear. And then I straighten up again. And then as I get close, I just kind of go left and right and wiggle it in there. I'm like, and then I just kind of look at him and I'm like, well, left and right. Great. I mean, it was going great until that point. I mean, it's like, if I just, okay, cut once, straighten it up, cut once, and then just kind of do this and it's supposed to go in there. Hell no, it's not supposed to. You have to have some sort of skill to it. As they keep saying, you got to feel it. Well, I can't feel it yet. So to me, it's extremely frustrating. And I know you're watching this and you're probably saying, oh yeah, we all going through that, or yeah, it's frustrating or whatever else. And there may be people commenting down below and saying, oh, you shouldn't be frustrated about it. It's going to be fine or whatever. Right now, I'm not feeling it though. And I'm the kind of person that likes to be able to rationalize something, and that I cannot rationalize. I understand that you're supposed to be able to cut it to the left to send the trailer out a little bit wider of a turn, cut it to the right. And I understand how if the trailer is kind of more or less in a straight line, you should be able to kind of walk it in like if it's like this and you should be able to, kind of maneuver it back and forth, and it's supposed to just kind of, go tighter or go a little looser. I understand that. I just cannot get that into my mind, that procedure. And that to me is really annoying because I can break down every other thing. I can rationalize it. Last weekend, when I went home, I came back on Monday and it suddenly clicked in my mind as to if I see 1 foot of the cone between the tractor and the cone, and I can't see the other cone, then I can deduce that if I'm lined up down the box, it's 3 feet over if I can't see the cone just yet. I can rationally do that. And if I'm not perfectly in alignment, I can say, okay, I'm encroaching on this side, so I need to pull forward and get things back straight. I know that. I can rationalize it. It's math. I can do the angles in my head. What I can't do is feel it. It's not feeling. It's not working. I get in the trailer and I literally say, okay, what can we do different? And I'm talking to the trailer or the tractor and I'm saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it this time? Okay, let me try cutting the wheel. And so this time what I did is I like the first time I was like, see if I can break this down. So I cut it to about just over halfway, halfway over the landing gear. And then I kind of straighten up and ride it back. I'm like, okay, so halfway. And now let me see if I can cut it in there. And I can't because I start to cut it and I overshoot it. Then I have to pull forward or I undershoot it and then I have to pull forward. And so I'm like, okay, well, I was way too far away for that. So next time, so I go ahead and pull forward and line back up again and say, I'm going to start over again. So instead of going just slightly over halfway, I say, this time I'm going to go 2/3. Do the same thing and I end up in the same damn place. So I say, okay, I'm going to do 3/4 of the landing gear. Do the same thing and I end up in the same damn place. And know what you're saying. Oh, well, cut it later, cut it earlier, whatever, depending on where you're going. It doesn't work that way when the trailer is approaching in the exact same line. And no, it's not me correcting it because I'll straighten up the wheel and I back straight towards it. And it's the same exact thing. I see the cone's standing up there and the trailer is aiming kind of, is in front of it, but I just cannot maneuver it. I can't get it in there. I mean, I can get it partially in there and then pull forward and I have 15 feet and left and right and then back up again and then left and right, pull forward. I can do that, but I don't want to have to do, 8 pull forwards, run the risk of hitting the cone a couple of times in order to get the maneuver right. It needs to just work. And to me, I can't make it work. I'm working on it, but it's not working right now. It's not rational. And I'll watch these YouTube videos and it's like, okay, well, one guy says what you do is you line up and you get past it. And then he says, all right, so you'll turn the wheel. And once you get half your landing gear in, you maintain that. You just watch the landing gear as you have about half the landing gear. And that's going to keep your trailer in a gradual arch that comes around. And once you're kind of around, kind of in line with it, you're able to finagle it left and right, doing the same, turning it with just a little bit of a turn and it should go right in. And it should practically go straight in, he says, if you line up correctly. Once you figure out how to line it up, you should just be able to go cut it halfway on the landing gear and then just watch the landing gear and just keep the landing gear in your mirror right there at the halfway mark, and your trailer should naturally just curve right on over. Another person says, okay, well, what you do is you cut it, and once you start to kind of go, you straighten up the wheel, and the trailer will naturally start to pull itself out wider and wider and wider. And then what you do is you catch it. You turn to the left, and you catch the trailer every now and then you just kind of and you gradually go towards it. And if you can't hit the alley, try to aim for just past the alley. That way you can always turn tighter and get it in there. It doesn't work. Not for me. It's not yet. And I look at the comments and people are like, oh man, your video made it work. I can now do it. And then someone else says, oh, this is the best video out there that explains it. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to try that procedure. I try it. It doesn't work for me. I tried a slight variation on that. Try cutting it a little bit later. Something is not working. It's not working for me. Something isn't working. It's not clicking. Again, I'm not feeling it. And I don't know why. So anyway, the last time I went today, and I feel bad in retrospect because I got frustrated, and and I'm like, look, you can tell me to feel it. I'm not feeling it. And I'm like, and I'm like, so it's you can tell me, oh, just feel it. It's like, it's like me having a glove on and you're telling me what does the texture feel like on something. It's like, I can't tell. I'm wearing a damn glove. Just feel it. Well, I can't because I'm wearing a glove. We'll take the glove off. I can't. The glove is stuck to my hand right now. So on Monday, I really hope they put us up on Alley Dock again. I mean, I know that Thomas pretty much has it down. He's been driving the yard, the trucks on the family yard, he has a truck out there that he's been basically backing up for, ever since he got his driver's license at 16. So he's been doing that for 3 years. He has it down to a science. He knows exactly what he wants to do and how. And for the most part, he slips it right into the box every single time. He usually rides pretty far out toward the cones, but he very seldomly hits a cone. And when he does, he pulls forward and he's right on line. Fritz he's got it. He's getting it down. He tells me he just kind of still says he's still not great with it, but I tell you, if the box is here and I'm watching him and he's coming in here, he gets it right there at the end of the box, and he just and then he turns it and he barely misses this cone right here, and it goes right in. When I aim for it, I come in too steep. And I'm like, okay, so I understand. That means get farther away from the box. Start your turn later. If I start my turn later, I swing around forward and then they blow the whistle because I'm over the cones in the front. So I have to start the turn and gradually go in a little bit earlier. That way I have room to swing the trailer around. When I do that, it's off on the wrong angle. And then I come in too steep. So I don't know what the disconnect is. Because I watch these other guys and they start their turn. As soon as they start backing up, they start to do the turn to get it to get it in motion. I do the same thing, and I watch how much their wheel is turning. I watch how much their front tires are turning, and I'm like, okay, they're turning it probably about the equivalent of about one turn around, or maybe just a little bit less. And I try to duplicate that. Then the next guy, and then I can't. So feel it? No, it's not working for me. I know I keep circling around saying the same thing, but I've been irritated about this all day. Once I did my last turn and we had about 15 minutes left in the class. I knew Fritz was going to probably take about 7. I knew that Thomas was probably going to take 5. And I'm like, look, I'm done playing trucks. I'm done playing trucks for the day. Because I went forward and backward. I said, I know I'm not going to get it to go again. I'm going to just spin it a couple more times. If I can't get it, I'm going to pull forward, back up. Wrong. Pull forward. Try it again. This time I was like, all right, half the landing gear this time. 2/3 of the landing gear. 3/4 of the landing gear. Now I want to see a full landing gear. I tried every single combination of that, trying to duplicate every other move, and something is not right. Try my turn later. Well, then I'm like, totally overshooting the thing. I'm like, here's the box, and I'm like here, and I'm like, I'm nowhere close to the damn thing. So I pull forward again. Then I try to do it again. I'm like, all right, now turn it, and then I'm here, and I'm like, okay, where do I need to go? Now I'm trying to get this and trying to figure out the right time to cut it. And it's not, I'm looking at it. I'm like, that looks to me like the right place. I'm not going to get out and look, because if I do it there, I'm not going to have it to do later. One of the guys earlier this week failed because he used his get out and look. He used one of his get out and looks too early. And when he did that, he screwed himself up, because at the very, very end, he pulled forward after he hit the cone to the very back. Not enough to have him fail the test, but then he pulled back forward. His trailer, he was telling me today, he says it was out by like 1.5 inches to 2 inches on one side. The trailer wasn't perfectly square. It was like this at a little bit of an angle, and one side of it was barely out. I just need to get it. And to me, it's irritating. I mean, you can tell me something in photography. Use the rule of thirds, 3-to-1. You can tell me, use the rule of thirds, or use a point of interest. I can do that. I can say, oh, that makes sense. In the world of sound, you can tell me, look, listen for this, and I'll say, okay, that's what clipping sounds like, and then I'll make sure it doesn't clip. In trucking, feel it. I can't yet. I know I'll get it in time. But I have one full week left, and because we're still playing catch up for Memorial Day, it looks like they're trying to plan for day 15 being test day, and I would rather spend day 15 doing a refresher. But instead, it looks like it's going to be day 14, and day 15 is going to be test day, which is extremely frustrating to me, because I would love nothing more than spend all day doing Alley Dock, or spend this upcoming week doing Alley Dock until I finally get it. Because I'll tell you this, if on Monday, if I go back and they're like, all right, we're going to work on offset and straight back, I'm going to go and I'm going to say, Ruben, can I please not? Can I please practice what I need help on? I have zero confidence in Alley Dock. I mean, at the end of the day, when I signed out, normally he'll say, "How you doing?" Or we'll have a little small talk or something like that. Today, as soon as I was, like I said, I was done playing trucks. I knew that Fritz was going next. I watched him back up. I knew that we had like 15 minutes left. I went ahead and walked over there to be the first person in line. That way, when Ruben comes in there with the iPad, all I had to do was sign, and I briskly walk to the car, jump in, and leave because I was done. Wanted to get the hell out of there. Just could not deal with it today. And I know it's no one's fault. It's mine because I can't get the damn move down. But to me, it's extremely frustrating